How different could the team be this week?
Yeah, probably not too much different. Brett Delaney's got a little bit of a hamstring niggle, so that might keep him out. Jimmy Jonesby kind of missed Monday's game against Salford, but he's back in the reckoning. And Liam Sutcliffe's back in the reckoning after a couple of training sessions this week, so we'll make those decisions probably tomorrow. But there's a couple that have come back into the frame and one that's dropping out.
There's players seemingly coming back now. Stevie Ward came back last week. Is there, from the coaching staff's point of view, is there a challenge in reintegrating players that are fit again when you consider the job that the guys have done in their absence? Yeah,
in an ideal world, those players that have been out long term, you don't want to, give them a couple of training sessions and throw them straight back into the deep end out on the field there. But it's been a needs much situation because of the injuries that we've had, especially to our pack. And so Stevie obviously came back in on Monday, but he came through unscathed as well. And obviously Brett Ferris came in last week and came through the Easter programme unscathed as well. So it's starting to look a little bit better, even though we've still got some bigger forwards that are still out.
Talking of which, is Adam Cuthbertson on schedule still?
Yeah, he's probably not too far away. He's probably a week or so away from integrating into training with us. So he's had his cast removed from his hand, and he's just going through all the ticking of the boxes in terms of being able to use his hand. But he's been doing plenty of running. So once his hand's ready to be able to actually start physically training, he won't be too far away from being available.
What can you say about the young guys as well who've been effectively holding the fort, the likes of Mikolaj Oledzki, Cameron Smith and Josh Walters, the job that they've done in the absence of the top line players?
Yeah, I think it's important. Obviously, for those players specifically, it's great that they've been able to come in and do a job and be able to hold their own as well in the team. And ideally, you want those players to come in, especially when players are injured or out of form, and be able to stake a claim to hold down that shirt as well. And it's good for those type of blokes that have come in, the Cam Smiths, the Mikolajs and the Josh Walters that have come in and played really well as well. So it gives a little bit of a headache, if we do get a fully fit squad, that those players are stamping a place for a shirt as well.
How do you assess the sort of gauge the players physically after Easter as well? Do you still, as a coaching staff, have to sympathetically manage them at the moment?
Yeah, you've got to be a little bit careful with with how much you actually do out on the training field, and Jason Davidson's obviously monitoring how much they've done and what workload they've had during games to determine how much they can actually do out on the training field, so it doesn't have a detrimental effect when you play with the short turnarounds. But yeah, obviously Jason's been doing it for years and he manages this period pretty well.
How mindful are you that the third game out of Easter can sometimes be a little bit erratic in terms of performance? Yeah,
there's potential for that. We're not preparing for that. We're preparing for a real tough game on the weekend. Obviously, Wakefield have lost a couple after an outstanding start to the season. Obviously, we've been playing in right across the board some terrible conditions as well over the last month or so as well. Most teams have endured tough conditions and wet and muddy conditions out on the field. So that may well have helped in terms of the intensity of games a little bit. So, but hopefully we're going to be ready and raring to go on Sunday.
Do you have to, when you're talking about Wakefield, do you have to factor in the fact that they've lost their last four in terms of them maybe being a bit more desperate?
Yeah, I think I don't think they've been blown away though. They've not been too far away. Obviously, they lost by a point at Hull on Monday and lost by a score against Castleford last week. Obviously, the conditions were pretty horrendous for them last week against Castleford, and they performed particularly well at Hull. And we're unfortunate, Mark Sneed dropped a goal from over 50 metres. They need to win that game for them. So they're a good side. They've got some good players, and Chris has recruited really well over the last couple of years, and they've got a really strong squad. So I'm not sure what their injury situation is, but I don't think it's too bad. And we'll be expecting a real tough battle over at Wakefield.
And you played for Wakefield, didn't you, back in the 90s? How do you look back on that?
Yeah, a fleeting appearance for my hometown club in '95, about 10 or 11 games there. So yeah, obviously, I'm fond of the club. I'm from Wakefield, so you do look at how they're doing and you want them to do well. And like I say, Chris has done a particularly good job over the last couple of years, and they're going from strength to strength on the field, and he's doing a great job there.
Have you got any past connections with Chris Chester?
I think we're both Stanley lads, so yeah, we know each other, and like I say, he's a good lad, and he's doing a great job there.
Will there be extra motivation from a Leeds point of view when you think of the loss there last year?
I'm not sure that'll come into it. Obviously, you know, it's a different season now, and you know, we know how last year panned out, but you know, no real massive shock that Wakefield were beating teams last year, because you know they were right up there for most of the year in the top four, and you know, so it's no surprise that they're winning games and winning big games as well. So no, we're prepared to face a real tough and competitive Wakefield team who will be certainly trying to get back on track.
Cheers, Baz.
Barry, 3 points over Easter. You must be pleased with that return. How crucial do you think that period will be as Super League continues?
Yeah, obviously it's not the business end of the season, but it's you know, it's obviously a challenging part of the season when you're playing 2 games in 3 days and backing up Friday to Monday, and you know, obviously we had some tough games going into that game, and then obviously you know some teams that are obviously trying to climb the table as well over Easter, and you know, Huddersfield had the change of coach leading into the game, which was obviously going to give them extra motivation. So you know, we were overall quite pleased to come out of the game with a point there at Huddersfield, and you know, you've got to give the players credit the way that they backed up on Monday against Salford, obviously in real tough and testing conditions out here at Headingley. You know, pretty constant rain throughout Sunday, and then Monday all the way through the game. But you know, the players' attitude and mentality, you know, did a great job to you know, to overcome Salford, who were obviously dogged and determined as well.